Welcome, friends, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani, along with Jerry Usher. And if you just tuned in for the very first time, or you happen to trip upon your radio station or your app on your cell phone that you're carrying, well, then welcome to Take Two. It's your show. It's a peer ministry show where we journey together, growing closer to God through the topics that we present. So grab your hot cup of coffee, your I'd like to say green tea, or your wonderful cool drink, and sit down with us for an hour and see if you're changed. Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, doing well. Good to be back on the air again, as always.
Yep, I agree. And this topic is a heavy one, Jerry, but I think we're ready to dive in.
Well, it's interesting you said dive in. I was thinking about this last night, and I was going to invite our listeners today, put your scuba gear on, because we are going to dive a little bit deeper today. But I think it's an important topic. It's one that I've thought about quite a number of times, and I had the opportunity to be reminded of it again when my sister passed away a few months ago after just a very short diagnosis and illness. And dear friends, the question we want you to weigh in on today, share your take on, is, and it's maybe it's not a question that we can ultimately answer because we really don't know. Oh, God is in control. But if you had a choice as far as your passing away, a choice between going suddenly, maybe very instantly, and in some kind of in your sleep or an accident or something, so in other words, dying suddenly, or having a period of time to prepare, to know that you were going to die, which would you rather have? And Debbie, I think this touches on so many different areas. It
does. It surely does. So we want to hear from you on your thoughts, on your deep thoughts about this. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to get on the show and to share your wisdom. We need to hear from you. Remember, you drive this show. Jerry and I are along for the ride. But Jerry, if you would allow me, I would really love to read your synopsis of the show that's on take2show.com. And the reason why is because I think it's rather brilliant, actually, the way you introduced it. And maybe, friends, you haven't visited take2show.com. That's our website, take2show.com. But this is what Jerry wrote about today's topic, and it's really very good. So listen up and see if you want to weigh in on this. Would you rather die suddenly or have time to prepare? A question many people ask themselves is whether or not they would like to have some sort of notice that their death was coming soon. In other words, would you rather have a diagnosis that gave you months to live, or would you rather die suddenly? It's a valid question, given some people's fear of suffering. On the other hand, some people would prefer to have time to prepare for death and offer their sufferings in reparation for their sins and on behalf of others. That's what the topic is today. And Jerry, I'm glad you brought that up in the intro of the show, because the fear of suffering, that's a big thing, fear of death. And that changes everything about the way we kind of envision the way we're going to leave this earth. And I think that we should really play that into the discussion today, because if you take the fear of suffering off the table, it changes a lot of how we would kind of envision our last days.
Yeah, well, calls are starting to come in. By the way, here's the number, 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, talking about if you could determine this. Of course, we can't. And as little Siggy said, Dr. Leo Marvin's son in What About Bob, he says, you're going to die, I'm going to die, we're all going to die. So, folks, it's a reality, and it's not something that we think about every day. But, the saints taught this, Debbie. They did. A lot of them would have a skull or some other reminder of death right near their bed, and they would actually meditate on that. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned this whole idea about having time and offering the suffering and all of that. That's on the spiritual level. Just on the practical level, getting one's affairs in order. I mean, that's another thing. And of course, somebody, wise before the show, we were talking to him at EWTN, said we should be preparing for our death every moment of every day anyway.
Absolutely.
But again, I think it's a realistic conversation to have, to ponder this.
Well, our listeners feel that way as well, because every single phone line is lit up. So when there becomes an open phone line, please jump in, because what you have to say can change another soul, and that's what we really want to do with this hour. It's what did you say, Jerry, the other day? 55 minutes? That's all we have with each other?
That's all on the air, yeah. So
Yep.
let's make the most of it.
Absolutely. So stay with us, and when we come back from this short break, we're going to go right to Rose in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So stay with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Celebrating 100 years of Fatima with Monsignor Charles Pope.
In August of 1917, Our Lady said to the children at Fatima, "Pray, pray very much, and make sacrifices for sinners, for many souls go to hell, because there are none to sacrifice themselves and pray for them." We live in times where many people think nobody's going to hell, but the children actually saw hell. Our Lady showed them hell, and that there were many, many souls there. We have to accept that, sadly, many have chosen against God. Can we pray for their conversion? Our Lady simply says, "Pray, pray, many souls go to hell because no one prays for them." Are we willing to pray for them? Do we have the same urgency that Our Lady and our Lord does for the souls who are on that wide road leading to damnation? Pray for them every day. Our Lady asks us, pray for the conversion of sinners.
Join EWTN as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Fatima. Visit EWTN.com/Fatima.
Stay up to date on the latest EWTN TV and radio shows, books, art, CDs, and DVDs from Religious Catalog when you sign up for Wings, our weekly e-newsletter. Get Wings today at EWTN.com.
Raymond Arroyo.
Part of the success we've had on the world over, I attribute to the audience, my relationship with Mother Angelica, and her teaching me that when you sit with someone, you talk to them, and you create an environment where they will tell you things they wouldn't tell anyone else. That ease, that humor, that warmth, she gave me that, and that's what I try to impart and make a part of every interview we do on the world over.
The World Over. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN TV and radio.
This is John Martinoni, host of Open Line Monday.
Hello, this is Archbishop Charles J. Chaput, the Archbishop of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
This is Jerry Usher, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Always great to have you with us, and we would love to have you join the conversation today. Again, it's a little bit of a deeper conversation, but one that, hey, it's worth having, we believe, and that is the question about: would you rather have however long it is, any length of time to prepare for your death, or maybe you have a little bit of an aversion to suffering, or maybe you just feel like you've got everything in order, and maybe you'd be comfortable going more suddenly. So that's our conversation today. As Debbie promised, we're going right to Rose, who is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, listening to Sirius XM 130. Rose, thank you for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Welcome, Rose. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well,
Great,
thank
Rose.
you.
Thank you.
Good. I don't know that I have a preference, but my experience has been that in 15 months, it's been about 6 years ago, that in 15 months I lost my sister, my brother, and my father, all to long illnesses, and a lot of suffering went along with that. So what that has allowed me to do over the past years is to make things okay with my family and to talk about it with them and let them know that if I do go quick, we're okay, no matter if we just fought or whatever, we're okay. Or if it is a long, drawn-out process, then I have already expressed my wishes to them and let them know, that it's okay with whatever decisions they have to make. I know that they'll make them what's best for me, and not to have the guilt feelings or the repercussions of a sudden death. I've never experienced a sudden death.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that feels like.
Rose, but before we dive into a little bit more of your personal preference, would you mind imparting to us the names of your family members, the first names, so we can add them to our book? We pray for the living and for the deceased.
Yes. Teresa, Tim, and Emil. And also, if you would add my mother, she passed away 30 years ago, Rosalie.
Rosalie. Oh, you're named after your mom.
I am. I'm Rosemarie, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Real quickly, Teresa is with an H or no H for Teresa?
No H.
No H.
Teresa. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, first of all, we're so sorry for your losses and to have them happen so quickly, in the sense that they came all within, you said 15 months, I believe, and that's very painful.
Right.
But the thing that I want to just tap into real quickly, and I know, Jerry, you wanted to share on this as well, is that Rose, I think it's Rose is being very cognizant of the fact that when we do leave this earth, we're going to leave others behind, and things need to be kind of buttoned up and sewn up and closed and fixed, if you will. And so you're doing that ahead of time, and I think that is really a beautiful gift. You're leaving the ones that you love now, rather than waiting for. I always say this, Jerry and Rose, tell me if you think I'm crazy on this, is that when you have these deathbed confessions and these bedside things where people are hugging and kissing at the very last second, it seems like it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's so last minute. And it seems like with you preparing this, that's how we all should be. What do you think?
I think so. And for me and my kids and even my husband, that's allowed us to talk deeper about some subjects, or like maybe if they did have something that they were holding a grudge with me with, or something bothered them that I have done in their past, or that gives us an opportunity to fix that now, rather than, when I'm gone, where, I don't know, maybe they'll go first. I hope not. But, when one of us are gone, then we don't have to worry about those guilt feelings. We have that settled.
Right.
I think it's a great... Yeah. Go ahead, Rose.
Well, and that we know that none of us are perfect. I've made mistakes as a parent. They've made mistakes as children do. But it's okay, because we love each other and we're there for each other, and we can't control life and we can't control our death. So we have to be prepared, and my experience has allowed me to know this and to say, well, I need to take care of this now so that my kids don't need to suffer in the long run.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Rose, great lesson that you're imparting to us, because this whole idea, as we shared a few minutes ago, it was mentioned to us before we came on the air by one of the staff at EWTN. We should be preparing, and I think in the context of that comment, individually, personally, we should be prepared for our death at any time, but we can broaden that out to be exactly what you're talking about, and that is to prepare in terms of our relationships, have our affairs in order, be right with God. Debbie, we were trying to figure out before we came on the air who it was that said something like, if you knew that God was going to come back or that you were going to die today, what would you do? And this particular person, you were thinking it was a saint, said, I would just continue doing what I'm doing, which is an indication that person was basically saying, I'm ready. So
right. I keep saying it's St. Paul. I don't know why it keeps coming to me. Somebody needs to research it and let me know if it's St. Paul, because that's what I've heard. And Rose, I think we all need to really do that. And I'm happy that you took the time. I know your story with your family members passing. I mean, that's a tragic and sad thing, especially happening so quickly in a short amount of time. But you imparted to us, like Jerry said, great wisdom on how we should be prepared at all times. So thank you for having the courage to call in, and thank you for adding your family members to the book, because we pray fervently. We really do, round the clock. Rosaries, adoration, you name it. We go for it, and we storm heaven, and we just really feel that we can experience that power of prayer, especially when we do it together. So thank you, Rose.
Thanks, excuse me. Thanks, Rose, for the call, and join us again anytime there from Pittsburgh. We're going to continue along. We have two Marias back to back. The first one is in Culver, Indiana, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Maria number one. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Maria.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Just fine. Yeah. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. So
what?
I just wanted to share that on June 16th, my mother passed away suddenly, completely unexpectedly. Ironically, my mother-in-law had died same way, just dropped dead in the night, the same date 7 years earlier. And that experience, for me, I kind of want to go the same way. But the reason why is, especially for my mom, she was a really, really devout Catholic. And I was telling the screener that she wasn't, I mean, when she was going to daily Mass, she wasn't doing it with a badge on her chest and, I go to daily Mass. She really lived her faith. She was kind. She was forgiving. She honored the Lord. She was grateful for her gifts. And that's what I kind of ties into what you just said. If I feel like we should all just be ready to go at any minute. We'd be kinder people. We'd be in a better place with God if we all thought, hey, today could be the day. Not that we should, be gloom and doom, but
right.
I just feel like there's a lot to be said for that. Just realize we're born with an expiration date. We don't know when it is.
Right.
No, it's there.
You're exactly right, Maria. Just real quick, Deb, before you offer some thoughts here, I think it's often been said that this life is kind of like it's practice, it's a dress rehearsal for spending eternity with God in heaven. Why would we not want to become accustomed to that and grow in our union with Him and be filled with His love even now? We don't have to wait until we get to heaven to experience the weight of His glory, as the Bible talks about. So, yeah, I think Maria's really onto something here, Deb.
Well said, Jerry. And Maria, I have to tell you, that is what a fascinating gift that God bestowed on your family with your mom entering into eternity, I believe 6 years to the day after your mother-in-law. How incredible is that you can celebrate their entrance into heaven, if you will. It's so cool that your mother-in-law, it's sad, very sad, and it was just recent that your mother passed away. But how beautiful of a gift that God imparted to your family.
Exactly, and that's how we look at it. And I would just add this: having lost my mother-in-law first, which was obviously very painful. I had a better appreciation for my husband's mourning of my mother.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
but we're sorry for your loss, because you're right in the midst of the grief of that. I mean, it just recently happened. But would you be willing to impart your mom and your mother-in-law's first names? We'd love to put them together in the book.
Oh, that would be so great. My mother-in-law was Carol, Carol, and my mother was Shirlene, Shirlene.
Beautiful. Well, they're together. They entered into eternity together, and they're together in our book of prayers. So how cool is that? Well, you're a beautiful soul. I have to tell you, your outlook is very inspiring, and I align myself with you exactly that same way. I live each day like it's my very last day, and I'm very happy. I love living like that. And so I encourage others to embrace that as well, Maria, and I'm glad you affirmed that.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much to both you and Jerry and your staff for a great show. It's really helped me on so many occasions, and I'm just grateful for your mission and the work you do. So God bless you both.
Thank you, Maria. You're very kind. Please keep us in your prayers if you would, and we appreciate you calling. All right, Brian, hang on. You're after Maria, number 2, who is calling from Bismarck, North Dakota, listening to Real Presence Radio. Hello, Maria in Bismarck. Welcome to Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. Go.
Basically, I am calling in to say that I experienced my parents passing away within a year. My mom died suddenly of a brain aneurysm, and then within a year later, my dad died of cancer. So I had a quick death and also a slow one. And as I was listening to other callers, I was thinking that my preference, well, it all depends on what the Lord has planned, but basically there's so much fruit and so much beauty in the longer, or when there's suffering and stuff, and when you kind of can have a chance to get your, I guess, things in order if you aren't, or relationships fixed. But there was so much beauty with my dad's passing that he was allowed to take the sacraments of confession and last rites, and he hadn't gone to confession for like 25 years, so it was really, really beautiful when he had that opportunity to do it. But I also learned, too, that to always be prepared. It's a good reminder from all the other callers, so I really appreciate having this topic again on the show, because it really reminds you that every day you need to be ready and to be right with the Lord.
We couldn't agree more, Maria. That's why we kind of just paused in silence and taking it all in what you said. But I think the one beautiful aspect you bring is this idea that your dad was given that time, that precious time, to receive the sacraments. And our good Lord, He knows exactly what we need, our families need. And if we're just somewhat cooperative with God, He allows all these blessings to happen. And it sounds like it really did happen in your dad's sacramental life. And that's beautiful, and so that does. But it also, on the flip side of that, Maria, it makes me think that if the rest of us, if we go to daily mass, if we frequent the sacraments on a regular basis, for those of us that are in a regular routine of practicing our Catholicism, wow, think about that. I mean, we're ready at all times.
Right. And both my parents were, went to mass and stuff, and I remember my dad, he was from a different state, would come in and he would time to go down, I got to talk to my Lord. But, the confession part was always something that he thought,
right.
I taught, and so that was just even more beautiful for all of us to realize that, yes, he did take in that sacrament.
Beautiful. What's your dad's name, real quickly?
Robert.
Robert, okay. I want to add Robert.
Is Rita.
Rita, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, Jerry, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just taking us all in, as you said, Debbie. Very, very inspired, Maria. And what is really interesting and maybe not unique, but you have experienced this. You had, like you said, the one loved one. I believe you said your mother went suddenly, and your father had that time. So you've experienced both, and I like to see the hand of God's mercy in either of those situations. I look at my sister, who, as you may know, passed away earlier this year. She had not been practicing the faith for many decades. Very, very beautiful, wonderful, righteous woman in a way, in so many ways, but not practicing the faith. And it was an occasion for her. God used it as a vehicle to bring her back to Himself. She not only went back to confession, was visited by priest, anointed, Eucharist, all of that, but she embraced it, and then she was telling us she was offering it for us and for her friends and for the world, and it was just kind of a stunning turnaround for me. And so I point that out because God looks at every person's individual situation and sees what they need, and He may have seen. I'm not judging where your father was in this situation, but God saw that time ahead of time was going to benefit him, and maybe on your mother's case, He just looked and said, "She's ready. I'm just gonna bring my bride home with me." So anyway, I'm running on here. Sorry about that.
And something too that was that I was a cradle Catholic. Raised Catholic, but one of the priests, when he was visiting with my dad, said, just look at all that you can offer up for your suffering. And that has stuck with me through my whole life, and I teach my children, too, about offering up whatever little sufferings that we have, and it's so powerful, and that's something, too, that I thought was a beautiful grace from that, too.
Absolutely, Maria. Maria, you're a beautiful soul. Absolutely. We can hear it in your voice. Thank you for blessing our day today and sharing with us your story, because your story is going to change lives. It really is.
Thank you. Thanks for all you guys do, too. Love listening to your show.
Thanks,
Bless
Maria.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, be blessed there in Bismarck, and thanks to Real Presence Radio and all of our affiliates for carrying Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Brian, I promise you're next. You're going to have to hold on just for a couple of minutes here. We got that hard break, we call that there, and can't move that one. That's for the sake of the affiliates that carry the show. But Brian will give you all the time that you need. And we've got Mike and Jose and another call and one line open if you'd like to join us at 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396.
They call it a hard break because we can't move it. But you know what I think is so hard about it? Is because we have to stop what we're doing, that beautiful feeling that we're having with our Take Two family. That's right, what's hard. Yeah. That's what's hard for me,
We should
Jerry.
call it a difficult break.
A difficult break. I love it, Jerry. You just changed talk radio.
All right. Well, it's just a quick little pause here, so hang on. We're going back to your calls in a minute. 800-585-9396. Would you rather have time to know that you're going to die and prepare, or go suddenly? That's our conversation today.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
And welcome to an EWTN Bookmark Brief. We're in Perilous Falls with its author, the one and only Raymond Arroyo, talking about Will Wilder's latest book and his latest adventure, The Lost Staff of Wonders. Okay, so what is Will up to this time?
Well, this is book 2 in the series, and the story goes on. I mean, when you start a series, you got to finish it. In this book, the staff of Moses goes missing from the Perilous Falls Museum in the middle of Will's town. Will is charged with stealing it. Of course, he didn't. He has to clear his name. In the course of doing this, he, his friends, his Aunt Lucille get pulled into this adventure, and the clock is ticking because the plagues of the Old Testament start falling on them. It's a great way, I think, to introduce kids to history, to a sense of family, that they're not alone, and to these eternal lessons that we all need at some point about the nature of good and the nature of evil.
Very good. Will Wilder, The Lost Staff of Wonders. Thank you so much. The author, Raymond Arroyo, of course, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. Look for the entire interview coming soon, and this has been a Bookmark Brief. Thanks for stopping by.
This is Cy Kellett. Join me for Catholic Answers Live. It's 2 hours dedicated to Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Designed for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, it's your opportunity to hear from and talk with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today. You've got questions? We've got Catholic Answers. Catholic Answers Live, weekdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
You're listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. So stay with us. The second part of the show usually goes very fast, and we learn so much in the latter part of the show. So don't get on with your day yet, because Mike has been driving through Iowa, and he's been waiting patiently as he's driving. I hope you have a headset on and your seatbelt on, Mike. But welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Debbie and Jerry. Bless you guys.
You too, Mike. Thanks for calling.
Hey, no one's really ever ready for their time. I mean, you can get as ready as you want, but, I don't think we can ever be ready. I'm not worried about passing away. I'm worried about what the situation's going to be. I just hope there's a father around or a deacon or someone so I can get blessed in the anointments and, get the sacraments and do the Hail Mary with them, the prayers. That's, because I've had two people commit suicide here a while back, and 5 family members die of slow illnesses. So, like the previous caller said, it makes you think about it.
Right, Mike. Yeah, it sounds like this is really on. I don't want to say on your mind. I mean, I'm hoping you don't this doesn't burden you throughout your daily routine, but I mean, what I mean is it's on your radar because you've had these other family members die, like you said, slow deaths, and it is a legitimate concern that we all want to make sure that we're going to have that pastoral care, that spiritual care at the time of our deaths. And obviously an aid to that is going to be, as Debbie alluded to earlier, making sure that we are practicing the faith every single day. Doesn't mean going to Mass every day, but certainly fulfilling our obligations on the weekends, going to daily Mass when we can, but just praying and being in communion with God. And that's Debbie, I think that's a great source of peace in our hearts when we live that sort of life.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And Mike, here's the other thing too I just wanted to share from a catechetical standpoint. God knows our heart. He knows what our desires are and our intentions. And sometimes as Catholics, we, I think just by the nature of the way we were instructed, if you will, that we want to make sure everything is right. Everything, we've said the Hail Marys, we've prayed the Rosary, we've received the sacraments, but God knows our heart, and He knows what we desire. And the reason why I say that is my grandmother, when she passed away, she was a very saintly woman. Oh my goodness, she produced a son who was a priest, very wonderful priest, and a daughter who was a religious sister, and then of course my mom and my aunt who had children, and it was amazing. She was an amazing grandmother, and she prayed all the time. And when she died, we had found out that the one thing that she did was she stretched her neck. Because she couldn't, I guess she was so weak at the time, she couldn't really pray. She stretched her neck to turn her head to focus on the crucifix that was behind her when she passed away. And she was gazing at the crucifix. So God knows our connection. He knows our relationship. And that's the key, is to build this relationship now, to set that foundation. So God knows that if we were to die without saying that last Hail Mary, He knows we wanted to say that last Hail Mary. I don't know if that brings comfort to me, Mike, just saying it. I hope it brings comfort to you. What do you think?
Oh yes, ma'am. I say my Our Father and my Hail Mary first thing and my Rosary, and I carry my Rosary. I got my crucifix on the dash, and Mother Mary and Jesus on my dash, but that's just me. I truly believe. And I think I told you my whole back is done in the 12 stations of the crucifixion. I tattooed my whole back.
You did tell us. That's right. I know. That's pretty impressive.
So but that's just me,
Yeah.
I am.
Well, I think God know. I think God might know your heart, Mike, because you definitely exhibit it in all you do. So that's a beautiful thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to say one last thing?
Oh, I was just going to say, I want everyone to know I have you and Jerry and everybody at EWTN in my prayers every day. And I've heard you talk about your grandma before. I've said a prayer for her and Jerry's sister and family, too. So I just want everybody to know I keep you all in my prayers every day.
Well, I'll tell you what, God is going to be very familiar with you. He already is, Mike, so I don't think you have anything to worry about. Just maintain that great relationship you have with Jesus and Mary and the saints, and be as prayerful as you have been, and things are going to turn out really well for you. We're going to pray for that too. So thanks be to God, and thanks for your call, Mike. We appreciate that. Denver is our next stop. Jose is listening on Denver Catholic Radio. Jose, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. So what would you like to impart to our listeners?
Okay, how are you guys?
Very well, Jose. Thank you.
I got recently diagnosis that a disease that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life, and at first it was pretty hard. I mean, I kind of knew, but when they came back with the diagnosis, I was 100% sure of what was going on. And the very first thing that came to my mind was the Annunciation, when the angel went to the Virgin Mary and told her she was expecting a boy. And I put myself in the same position as her, trying to think if it was something that she wanted it. And probably not. Because the disease that I have to carry it with me for the rest of my life. And I didn't want it either, but I've been listening to Catholic radio for the last year and a half, and I guess that's what's been helping me to go through the diagnosis. because that's been teaching me about patience, and it's been teaching me about how to be kind to others and understand how much God loves me, that He gave me this cross to carry. And it's the one that I wanted. It's not what I asked for.
Right.
But just the same as the Virgin Mary did. All I have to say now is, let your will be on me, and all I got to do is to stay healthy and follow whatever the doctors are telling me to do to have a long life. When you have a diagnosis of you're gonna die for whatever the reason that might be, it does change your life. But I'm not letting the diagnosis to dictate who I am. That's letting me know that I have to be aware of something happening in my body that I gotta take care of, and the rest is in God's hands, because it's not my cross that I choose, but it's the one that He's given me, and the one that I have to carry on from now on. I have many other problems, but if it was probably some other time of my life, it would be a lot more difficult, because I'm going through divorce, I'm going through immigration, I'm going through this disease, and all of that. It seems like it's too much. But I'm pretty confident that God is going to put everything together for me, and it's nothing that I really have to worry about. Yeah. Because He's going to work everything out for me. And that's what I want to share with everyone.
Yeah. Well, Jose, God bless you. Thank you for calling. And you're going through a lot, like you said, and especially this diagnosis. And we're going to pray very, very fervently for you for all of these things. It's beautiful that you have Denver Catholic Radio there, and I know it's a blessing for those people to hear you sharing that Catholic Radio has played such a role in helping to bring you closer to God. And you did mention that, and we're not going to ask for details of your diagnosis or what have you, but you did mention that doctors say if you take certain steps, that could help to longevity, to leading a longer life, and that's certainly what we're going to pray for, and we know that you're going to do. But I just want to say, and Debbie, I know you'll echo this, God has selected in Jose a really beautiful and I think a strong, courageous soul to be able to carry, as Jose said, this cross that he's been given, Debbie.
Yeah, absolutely. Jose, I have to say this just from my heart to yours. We don't know the outcome unless the doctors have given you, a blueprint of exactly what's going to happen in your life. It sounds like it's open with, if you keep your health up, if you're able to function and stuff like that. That's what it sounded like from what you were describing. But Jose, so the thing about it is we don't know, doctors don't know exactly the outcome of anything. They're human beings. God knows the outcome for you, Jose. And that's the thing that you are intimately intertwined with right now. You are very much adhered to God right now, and that's what you got to that's what you got to stay close to and tap into, because that is what's going to give you strength, and to be resigned to God's will. That's going to give you the peace, and that's going to allow you to function. But you're here for a reason and a purpose. And nobody knows how many days anybody has. You could have one day, you could have 100, years. We don't know. But you're here for a purpose, Jose, and that's what I think. As you were expressing, I'm hearing that you are very much diving into that portion of your purpose right now. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray not only for you to have, full function of your health and to keep up your stamina, but I'm going to pray that you are living out your purpose. That's what I'm going to pray for as well, because that's what I believe we should focus on rather than what human beings tell us to focus on. And I'm just saying that from experience, Jose. I'm not trying to reject any doctors or anything, but I mean, I've heard it a million times. People will say, oh, you have 10 years to live, and the person dies the next day. Somebody says, oh, you have 5 months to live, and they live for 5 years. Nobody knows. Only God knows. So I don't know if that at all brings you comfort, but you're on a mission, Jose. I feel it.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm just trying to stay strong. Like I said, it's just a diagnosis, and I mean, it's just gotta take the pills and eat healthy. And like you said, it's not my time; it's God's time, and He's gonna decide for how long He's gonna have me around here. I can tell you, I am petrified to death because my mom doesn't know what's going on, and I don't want to tell my mom. She's old, and when they get to that age, I don't want to cause her any harm. That was my only concern at first, but I mean, I think I can handle that. I have times where they ask me difficult questions at the hospital, like if something would have happened to me, who would have to make hard decisions, and unfortunately, I don't really have anyone that I can really trust for those kind of things, because now we're talking about my life, and I wouldn't trust my life to someone that is going to say, oh, no, end the treatment, and so, because there's not what I've lived either, to make those kind of decisions. I mean, a little bit of stress, because, I mean, if I'm not able to make those decisions, somebody else has to, and I don't have that support, but I don't want to have any selfish going to make the wrong decision either.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say this real quick, Jerry. Jose, let me just share something. When you're going through something that like you're going through, you need emotional support. Honey, you've got to reach out to people that you do trust. And I know you say you don't want to burden your mother, but if she's capable of emotionally handling it, you've got to reach out for some kind of emotional support. It sounds like you're going through this alone. Maybe your pastor.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody at your church.
I'm doing it all by myself.
Yeah, no, Jose, you need to reach out. You've got to reach out. You know what? Let's pray for that. Take Two family, please. Let's pray that the right people come into Jose's life that he can lean on, and he can and feel that sense of comfort
and trust. Yeah,
and trust. Yes.
Yeah, Jose, I would say what Debbie said. If you have a parish that you go to, the church is parishes are usually plugged into agencies and individuals. There might be somebody on staff at the parish, Jose, that could really kind of take up your cause with you and walk along your side during this, because you really should not be alone. And know that you're not alone. You have that closeness to God, and Debbie and I and everybody at Take Two, our listening family, we're going to be walking with you and praying with you too, Jose. And please feel free. We have an email address, Jose. It's take2, the number 2, take2 at EWTN.com. And we would be happy just to correspond with you and offer our prayers and support if you ever were so inclined to want to reach out to either of us via email. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good day.
Thank you, Jose. We love you.
Yep. Thanks for calling.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Lots of prayers going up for Jose and anybody in that situation. And thanks for the others of you on hold here for waiting a little bit longer there, but we just felt we needed to spend those extra couple minutes with Jose. The line is 1-800-585-9396, talking about if you had a preference of your death to be rather sudden or to have time, maybe a diagnosis, or maybe elderly. I mean, everybody's going to die, and even elderly people, find, Debbie, that there comes a point where doctors pretty much can kind of determine the length of life remaining. So, folks, if you have a thought on that, 1-800-585-9396.
Jose talked about the importance of Catholic radio. This is a perfect time for us just to put the plea out there for those areas of the country that still do not have Catholic radio. Maybe God's calling you. Maybe you're listening right now and you're feeling that nudge of the Spirit saying, I'm really not a radio person, but I do have some smarts when it comes to business and stuff like that, and maybe I could be a person that could start Catholic radio in my area. It's important. It's important we have Catholic radio going strong in every square inch of our beautiful country. Will you help us? All you got to do is pray about it and then call Jack Williams. He's wonderful. He's our general manager. He's just wonderful. He's just a fabulous person to talk to. He'll help you, and you can contact him by dialing 205-795-5756 or jwilliams@ewtn.com. But think about it, pray about it, and it's really important to have Catholic radio, Jerry.
It is, and we have affiliates in the Northeast area, in Western New York and Pennsylvania. One of them is in Erie. That's the Station of the Cross. That's where Eddie is listening right now. So, Eddie, we welcome you next into the conversation here at Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Eddie. Thanks for your patience. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Good, Eddie. Thanks for the call.
Yeah. How you doing? I know you guys are like perfect. You guys just reach out and you're very good. I think that like I mentioned to Matt something about some of the extreme cases like Terry Schiavo or like some of these people on respirators like my neighbor's father was. But I would think that most people would want some kind of peaceful and not prolonged death. Something that was somewhat normal, not some traumatic sudden death syndrome or something like that. What do you think?
Well, I think we all are averse to suffering in a lot of different ways. I know that I am. I've said on this show, I'm a horrible sufferer, and I think that that's why God has limited the suffering that He's allowed to come into my life. But I really believe, too, and we know, Eddie, that there are means of controlling pain and controlling suffering, palliative care, and so forth. So, but you're right. I think most people would look at if they were offered, say, a several-year, long, painful, slodging through an illness to your death versus something a little shorter, maybe sudden. A lot of people might opt for the shorter route. Deb, I don't know. What do you think?
I think so because, I used to run cross country, so I'm real adverse to pain. I can run mile upon mile until I'm done. But unless it's like extreme where they have no consciousness, or they're in extreme pain, or they're paranoid about what are they going to do with my body? That's a big question too. What are you going to do with my body? Are you going to use it for science when I didn't say anything about it, or where am I going to go when I'm dead? Where am I going to be buried? What if I'm just some street person or something?
Right. Well, I think this idea, suffering is a topic that really strikes to the core of so many people because everybody has a different feeling about it, some people have a high tolerance for pain, some people are so scared of suffering. And the thing about it, Eddie, is I've come to realize, being in catechetical ministry for many years, because a lot of the children and a lot of the youth will ask about this. They'll say they don't want pain, they don't want suffering, and suffering is just the thought of it just makes them crazy. But I've often said this to the youth. I would say, don't focus on the suffering. Focus on your relationship with God. Let everything play out. God knows what we can handle. He knows what we can't. When we focus on one little speck that is the negative portion of what we have to endure as human beings, it's going to magnify in our life. Think about it for a moment. When people have such a great fear, like a fear of flying, if you will, a great fear, and then you find out later they died in a plane crash. Why was that? Was that an accident, or were they focusing so much on the one thing that was so incredibly fearful that it actually ended up happening? I think if we focus on our relationship with God and what we have going for us with the beauty and the graces of our faith, the rest plays out in a natural way. That's my belief on it, Jerry. I don't know how you feel. And Eddie, thank you again for the call. But how do you feel about that, Jerry? I never asked you about that.
No, I think you're right. We did a show one time on self-fulfilling prophecies, and sometimes we can worry ourselves into certain situations. So, yeah, you may be right. Eddie, thanks again for the call. Got to try to get a couple more people in here. We're going to go to Barbara next, listening also on the Station of the Cross in the great city of Boston. Hi, Barbara. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
It struck me when you asked that question of which would you rather, a sudden short or a long or protracted death. It makes me think of my dear husband passed away several years ago from cancer, and he had cancer for 6.5 years, and he never complained. It was not an easy road. He continued to work. He continued to be active. He had chemotherapy, multiple surgeries, etc. And then towards the end of his life, he was in the intensive care unit on my birthday, which happened to also be our anniversary, knowing that it would be the last. I was at Mass that Saturday morning, and afterwards I was feeling very sorry for myself. My eyes watered up, and my pastor came over and said, "What's the matter, Bob?" So I just said, my husband's in the intensive care unit. I woke up this morning alone in my bed on my anniversary and birthday, and he put his arm around me, and he just said, "Redemptive suffering, Barbara, redemptive suffering." And then he was gone, and I thought to myself, oh, that's kind of cold, and I just wanted a warm and fuzzy. I thought about it more afterwards, and I thought, that's exactly what my husband was doing. And I thought, that is a great, great thing to be saying. So I was then able to reframe in my mind and my heart and started to look at my situation that followed after my husband passed, that, I truly, truly was so sad, and, the whole 9 yards. But I looked at it from the spiritual point, and I thought, don't say, woe is me. Look at all I have. Look at my family, my friends. Take everything and look at all of these stumbling blocks, these pains, these sufferings, of which I have. Don't look at them and complain about them. Give them back to Jesus for the greater glory of God. Let him use those for the salvation of souls, if that's what he needs them to, wants it to be with. But whatever he gives me. So I look at death differently now, that I would welcome, a protracted illness that would, cause me pain or discomfort or, isolation or whatever. I would like to believe that because of where I am in my faith life, that I would take and I would give that back to Jesus. I would offer it to him. I would pray, all for his greater glory. And whatever he has planned for me, certainly I will accept, and it will be his will. But I'm not afraid at this point, where, say, 20 years ago, I would have been terrified. I would have been wanted to be, struck in the night, and that was it. But it's very different now. So I just thought I would share that with people who may be going through some, painful situations with illness, etc., and are facing, death down the line with no potential cure or healing for them, based on physical medicine. Use that. Give it back to God. Use it for good, because that's why he's giving it to us. And that's
real quickly, Barbara, as we're getting short on time, can we have your husband's first name, if you don't mind, as Debbie has the book that we keep for prayers?
Sure, it's Skip.
Skip, okay. Yeah, Barbara, you are really, I think you're hitting it right on the head here, and it's very beautiful. And I'm kind of with you. I guess Debbie and I didn't really share maybe our preference at any point on the show, but I sometimes wonder, I sometimes almost discern that whenever my time comes, there is going to be some length of time, an opportunity to suffer, to offer that for whatever. I think the flip side of that, and the unfortunate side, is, and Barbara and Debbie, we all know people in today's world, people who don't have the eyes of faith, who don't see the value in redemptive suffering, they don't see eternal life with God. Said they lack all of that perspective. And Debbie, I look at some people who are elderly or even younger, who I've had friends who have passed without faith, and they just sort of are lost. There's this sense of like, now what? What's going to happen? It's over. Everything's over. This is senseless. It's meaningless. But it's not. It really is not.
Right. Well, Barb encourages all of us through her life experience, she's encouraging all of us, thank you, Barb, again, to really develop our relationship with God. And that's the key. Laura and Doris and Diane and the others, we're so sorry we couldn't get to you. In fact, Laura was commenting about Stephen Ministries, Jerry, and I hope Jose is listening. Check out Stephen Ministries, Jose, in your area. Maybe they can help you with your situation. So, Jerry, another fabulous, deep show by our listeners.
Well, as always, we love and respect you all greatly. And if you've got prayer intentions, go to jerryanddebbie.com. jerryanddebbie.com. Post them on the prayer wall there. We will be back with you again tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day.